Welcome, bourbon aficionados, enthusiasts, and curious sippers alike, to Sip Wiselee, a podcast brought to you by the St. Charles Bourbon Society. My name is Jonathon Lee, and I will serve as your guide on this journey through the wonderful world of bourbon. Whether you are a seasoned connoisseur or just beginning to explore the depths of this flavorful spirit, our podcast is your passport to discovery, education, and pure enjoyment. Here, we'll dive into the history, craftsmanship, and flavors that make bourbon more than just a drink. It's a culture, a passion, and a way of life. Join us as we uncork the stories behind your favorite distilleries, uncover the secrets of barrel aging, and decode the complexities of tasting notes and flavor profiles. Each episode is crafted with care to inform, entertain, and inspire your own bourbon journey. So, grab your favorite glass, pour yourself some of your go-to bourbon, and join us as we raise a toast to the finer things in life. From barrel to bottle and glass to lips, let's sip wisely. Cheers. Hello, my bourbon friends. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the second installment of the Sip Wiselee Podcast. If you have not listened to the first episode, that is alright. I encourage you to give it a listen, but our guest in this episode is also David Weglarz. As was mentioned in the previous episode, the episodes released on the first of the month will highlight a distillery. In this case, that was still 630. On the episodes that release on the 15th of each month, we will sit and taste bourbon, whiskey, or maybe we should just say spirits, from that distillery. It is our hope that you too would sample these bottles with us. If you haven't gone out to pick up a bottle of either Still 630's Big Jake, their white whiskey, Rally Point, their rye whiskey, or their Missouri Bourbon, I would recommend heading over to A1 Wine & Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peters. They have all three bottles in stock and at the cheapest prices around. Not only are they cheap, they are also adding a special for listeners of the show. Use the code SCBSA130, that's short for St. Charles Bourbon Society. A1 is the store, and $30 is what you need to spend if you are spending more than $30 for $3 off your purchase. Or use code SCBSA150 if you happen to be spending more than $50. You'll get $5 off your purchase. Don't worry, those codes are in the show notes in case you forget or that you're driving to A1 right now. Big shout out to Salim over at A1 Wine & Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peters for sponsoring the podcast and his willingness to make sure that our bottles that we taste are in stock at the cheapest price. I greatly appreciate that. Couldn't do this without your willingness to do so in your store. So, if I haven't said it yet, you should go check them out. Alright, so if you can't tell, in this episode, we sampled 3 spirits from Still 630. We actually got a sample that's in the house that David built. He mentioned it in episode 1, and I'm telling you now, if you have not been to the distillery, you should go down, for sure. They give tours on Saturdays, or you can go down any Friday night for their experimental spirit program. It is just an amazing use of space, and the wall of botanicals is amazing. I will share my thoughts after the show because I want to get into the content. Now, if you are listening to this episode in your car while you're driving, this next part does not pertain to you. You will have to wait until you get to your home to sample them, or maybe until you get to A1 Wine & Spirits on Mexico Road. Either way, but not while you're in the car. As you listen, it will be obvious when we take our samples. If you have yours at home, then take your sample with us, as David does a great job of walking us through the experience. We share our thoughts during the show. You can share your thoughts on social media. You can find us on all the major platforms under St. Charles Bourbon Society, all linked within the show notes. Or if you would like, you can fill out the quick form linked within the show notes as well. There you can share your thoughts or ask your questions, and we will share those in future episodes. We will also send those questions and thoughts to our guests and share any replies we receive as well. All right, get your Big Jake, your Rally Point, and the Still 630 Missouri Bourbon pours ready. Enjoy the episode with David Weglarz and Still 630. Today's episode is proudly brought to you by A1 Wine and Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peters, Missouri, your ultimate bourbon destination. Explore their exclusive single barrels, handpicked for unparalleled flavor. They also offer bourbon education classes where you'll unlock the secrets of this beloved spirit. But wait, there's more. With their exclusive reward system, you can gain access to premier allocated bottles, ensuring you never miss out on the finest selections. While we're on the topic of bourbon, let's not forget about their incredible selection of wines and other spirits, including rum, tequila, and vodka. So whether you're in the mood for a classic bourbon or something a little different, A1 Wine and Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peters, Missouri has you covered. That's A1 Wine and Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peters, Missouri, where the selection is vast and prices are great, allowing you to sip wisely. Welcome into the second episode of the Sip Wiselee Podcast. This is the 15th of the month release, so that means we are highlighting the bourbon from the first of the month, which our first episode was all about Still 630. And so I'm here with David Weglarz and a friend, Zach, as well. And we're going to kind of talk about some of Still 630's bourbon. So before we get into that, let's introduce the people that are here so you know who is saying what as we get into the show. For David, would you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored to be here. And there's nothing we love more about making spirits than sharing them with people. For me, that is the best part of the job. And I'm the owner, distiller, floor sweeper, and tour guide here in a small but mighty distillery. It's called Still 630 right downtown St. Louis. I hope I'll get an opportunity later to kind of keyhole in the meaning behind our name because it's overthought. But I'll let Zach introduce himself real quick here.
My name's Zach Metcalf. I'm John's real-life annoying neighbor and also the publisher of Happenings Magazine. Relatively new to the bourbon scene, so excited to take part in this.
Yeah, so we were hoping to have this be not only the audio but also video, but, we're still waiting for the funds to come in to buy that video equipment. I have an old camera that was just not going to cut it. So we're just doing audio, which is a shame because the botanical library that we're looking at, David said he's glad to be here. We are actually here in his distillery, so we had it backwards. He's a gracious host, and so we're excited to be down here with that. So what's going to happen, the way this is going to work out, you should have seen, if you're following us on social media, the 3 different bottles we're going to be tasting. And as we taste them, David's going to walk us through kind of what the flavors are, what the purpose behind the bottle is, that kind of thing. And hopefully you had a chance to go out to that A1 Liquors in St. Peters and purchase a bottle at the cheapest price around and join with us. So let's get started. Dave, what are we going to taste first here?
So we started this distillery with an idea of making whiskey and rum. And I know we're focused on bourbon here, but not all whiskey is bourbon, right? Bourbon is a type of whiskey. And there's a couple rules that have to follow for bourbon, right? It's got to be mostly corn. It's got to be aged in new barrel every time. And it's a distinctive product of the United States. There are several proof minutiae and rules around barrel entry, exit, bottling, that kind of stuff. But those are the main things. So that is just for the specific category of whiskey, bourbon, in the greater class of whiskey, right? So we're actually going to start with the first 2 products that we released here at Still 630. We've got Big Jake white whiskey and Rally Point rye whiskey. They're the exact same thing, rye whiskey. The mash bill, 90% rye, 10% malted barley. But a portion of that rye was malted because it gives a little creamier, softer sweetness in there. So a lot of people remark on these 2 whiskeys as being a little bit more approachable, softer, a little smoother than they classically think of as some of the mass market rye whiskeys that are out there. They definitely have some of the flagship characteristics of rye whiskey, but a little bit different. We're going to start with Big Jake, which is our white whiskey. White whiskey is unaged. That's why it's still clear. Everything comes off the still clear. It gets the color from the barrel that it was aged in. I mean, that goes for bourbon, gin, rum, rye whiskey, single malt. Everything you think of comes off the still through distillation clear. We've kept it clear, so that tells you it's unaged. When we go through the distillation process, and come on down for a tour because we give those by appointment on Saturdays, you got to sign up for them, but we walk you through the whole process. And one of the specific parts that we harp on is our distillation aspect. We use custom-made Missouri pot stills. And a pot still is really just an enclosed boiling device, and alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water. That's the whole secret to distillation. We run it through our pot stills twice. We double distill it. The first one is just to separate and concentrate the alcohol. That's our stripping run. The second distillation is our spirits run. In those alcohols that we brew from scratch, there's many different kinds of alcohol. Some good, some bad. But you want to separate and use only the parts you want. Luckily, all those different alcohols have their own unique boiling points. So during the second distillation, the spirits run, we can raise the temperature very slowly and let each alcohol kind of boil off at its own respective temperature. Self-separate, and we use little mason jars to collect it so that we can keep it separated. You got to keep it separated. Thank you.
Hey.
Yeah. Offspring is not the cultural reference they once were. That joke falls very flat with some of the younger crowd in here, but for me, that's right in my wheelhouse. Anyway, so we're taking all these mason jars, separating all this alcohol, and then we're going to go back through and we're going to take our cuts. That's where we separate the good from the bad, what we want to keep from what we don't. That's really commonly referred to as the heads, hearts, and tails. Heads, the first stuff that boils off, acetaldehyde, acetone, nail polish remover. Nasty. You don't want to drink. If you've heard of people drinking moonshine and going blind, that's those first few heads. We get rid of them. Then you're into the hearts. The good heart spirit goes in everything you're going to make. It's the best part, right? You want to keep it. In the end, you have the tails, the tail end of the run. Mostly fusel oils, fatty acids, other congeners. Not necessarily bad, you just don't want too many of them. Depending upon what spirit you want to make is going to influence where you make those cuts. That's the whole point of this little diatribe here. For our Big Jake, we want a nice tight hearts cut. So we literally only use the best little portion in the middle there. But for our aged spirits, we want to take a bigger cut. We want to use a little bit more because some of those other alcohols will interact with the wood, form some nice complex flavors, develop over time. Time being the important part, right? Unaged Big Jake doesn't have that time. It's not interacting with that barrel. So you don't want that other aspect. You want a little cleaner, tighter cut. We can't just, instead of pouring the rally point into a bottle, instead of pouring it into a barrel, just bottle it up. There's going to be extra stuff in there that hasn't had its chance to come to fruition yet, so to speak. So Big Jake is a tight hearts cut. Rally point is a bigger hearts cut. Big Jake is unaged. Rally Point is aged. And we'll talk more about Rally Point when we get there. But what I really love about this Big Jake, again, white whiskey is often called White Dog. So I named it after my 110-pound white dog named Jake, who dresses very fancy, as you see on the label. Yeah. Sadly, he's not with us anymore. He passed a few years back. But his memory, his spirit, lives on, if you will. Yeah. And he used to come, and there's a little still in the corner that you'll see when you come on your tour. That was never working in my garage or backyard. I guess winks don't really pick up very well on the audio only.
Yep. Nope. Yeah, wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah. It's weird. You said originally that you didn't have camera recording equipment, but you told me off air that we were going to do it, and then you saw my face, and you're like, yeah, you're a radio kind of face guy.
That's what I always say. Yeah, absolutely.
So Big Jake has always been in here. But what's really cool, and we always call this educational drinking, when you try Big Jake and Rally Point back to back, because you get to see what that whiskey was and what a barrel does to it, right? And it doesn't just change the color, as we may all know, but you really notice it on the rye flavor. So you're going to notice this rye grain in the Big Jake being a little more cereal and bready and grain forward. But when you get through the barrel aging, that transforms into that kind of spice, peppery note that you think of when you think of a rye whiskey. The Big Jake is also really cool because it's got this weird funky nose. It's almost like grappa or agave spirits in there. It's kind of like fruity and funky and just, it's surprising. A lot of people come to it and they see it. They go, it's clear, it's whiskey. Oh my God, it's 1,000,000 proof moonshine. It's not. It's not at all. It's surprisingly smooth. That's one of the main comments we get. Wow, that's actually pretty smooth. So if I may, why don't we grab our Big Jakes and give it a little whirl, and I'd be curious to hear what you guys smell off the nose here.
So what are some tips on how to taste?
Great question. That's very important because these are not, we're making premium spirits that are to be enjoyed on the best days. That's what we're trying to do at Still 630, right? Make great quality spirits. Whether you drink them neat, on the rocks, in great cocktails, with a gallon of Mountain Dew. Totally up to you. But when you're nosing something, we use these beautiful little Glencairn glass. They were designed for the whiskey tasting experience. But you don't want to stick your nose all the way in. You're going to get overwhelmed. You want to kind of go just above and kind of nose it a little bit. Smell. You want your mouth slightly open. And you kind of inhale through your mouth too. It helps kind of decrease the amount of ethanol that just blows you out, but brings in some other subtler notes. And you can roll it around in these glasses. You can swirl it pretty good so you get some of it on the side and then it'll expose. Some people like to look at the legs, which are the threads that kind of come down as it retreats off the glass. You can put into that as much as you want, But really, you get a little smell. This is supposed to be a holistic, full sensory experience. We're not ripping shots at the bar here of tequila, snake bites or whatever. You're trying to enjoy what you're doing. You smell it, you take a little sip. Get it on your palate in there, small sip. And always you want to do a gentle exhale after you swallow. It cuts down on the burn and brings up some secondary flavors too. And then go in for a little bit bigger sip.
I'm getting like a little grainy on the smell. I don't know if that's common.
Very much. Jonathan, what are you picking up there?
Alcohol.
Yeah, it's in there. 45% of that is alcohol.
No, I mean, it's... The nose was, I've heard the whole mouth open, so you don't really breathe through your nose because you really do get that ethanol taste to it.
You're not huffing it.
Yeah, so I've been doing that, but this it's not harsh at all. It smells like it's going to be a smooth white whiskey to it, and tasting it, it was. I mean, I did not feel the burn. And I'm sure the exhale helped quite a bit, too.
Yeah. It's got a really low burn, but it's more mellow and kind of stimulating.
I mean, there's some burn you're not going to be able to get away from because you're drinking alcohol, right? Yep. And high proof, this is not beer or wine, so it's concentrated high proof alcohol, but relatively pretty smooth.
I do taste that bread a little bit.
Yeah.
Almost, it's like a dough kind of thing. Yeah, a little bit.
We like to say Big Jake plays well with others because it's funny because he's a dog, but also because this spirit really picks up other flavors really nicely. So most of the bars and restaurants, and from what I understand, people at home that are using Big Jake, it's pretty popular. They like to use it in cocktails or in infusions. Yeah. So it picks up fruit, citrus, and savory notes really nicely.
Okay.
So
this is actually used within cocktails. It's not something used to make other whiskeys. Like,
correct.
So if I were to go to buy a barrel off of Amazon or something like that,
I wouldn't put this into a barrel.
Okay.
Right? And we don't. Right? Okay. This it's the same recipe, but it's a different cut of the distillate that comes off the still. Yeah. So what becomes Rally Point is more than what Big Jake is, if that makes sense. Okay. Right? Yeah. Because this is intentionally cut. We chose this portion for not doing a barrel aging.
Yeah, it goes back to that part where you're talking about the
different cuts on the distillate. Yep. Okay. Coming off the still.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, you absolutely can throw it in a barrel and age it, and it'll get color, and it'll get that nice woody, oaky flavors, and it'll develop a lot, but it won't ever quite become Rally Point because, again, you've kind of cut it short. You're starting with a smaller portion, so the eventual potential is a little bit more limited, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, so before we ever made gin or anything, we would make tons of Bloody Marys with this. We would use it in place of vodka or gin or tequila. We made a lot of tequila drinks with Big Jake because it kind of has that agave-type nose, that funk on it.
Yeah,
I can see that too.
Yeah. A lot of fun. I used to walk Big Jake around in the neighborhood at night, and I'd just pour some of this and some Drambuie in there. And, I'd just freehand it. But we had about a mile to walk, so I needed a full glass. I would only pour 2 fingers, but I would measure vertically rather than horizontally. Yeah.
That's really pleasant.
But it's a lot of fun to play with. And it's surprising for people, and it's really neat when we come in on our tour for our tastings to kind of present that to people because it does a really great job of kind of shattering your preconceived notions. Most people who come in are like, oh, like I said, clear spirit, it's a whiskey. Oh my God, it's probably that crazy moonshine that's 1 million proof. It's going to be just, lighter fluid. It's not at all. And then they're like, oh, wow, now I don't even know what to think. So as we move through the progression, they're a lot more open and just receptive to what they're tasting in the glass, which is all you should be basing it on. Forget the hype. Forget what you see in these secondary markets for $1,000 for this bottle. And if you like it, it's good. If you don't, it's not for you.
Yep. Now, what does the effect of bottle aging have on your spirits?
And by bottle aging, can you clarify
with
that?
It being
You mean
in
just
the bottle for a while?
Okay.
Does that have any effect on the end taste versus the beginning taste? Or
from every experiment that we've done, as long as it's relatively full, the effect is negligible to my palate. I'm not the best palate in the world. I do this for a living, and I'm pretty trained at it, so it's it's not for nothing. But as that air goes down, as your headspace grows, you're getting a little bit more off-gassing in that bottle. So let's say it's a third full, and it's been like that for 6 months. It's going to taste a little bit different to you than if you pull a brand new fresh bottle off the shelf and pour them side by side. It will probably have mellowed a little bit. It depends on the heat and temperature of your environment slightly, But again, it's a relatively fixed commodity once it's bottled, right? And I love that about spirits in general, right? Wine and beer, totally different. Once it's opened, you got to consume it right now. As you look around and see our library in here, you see thousands, literally, of bottles that have varying degrees of openness, but they're relatively shelf stable, right? So they're sitting in here, and some of them have been for years. Some of them are a couple weeks old, right? We're continually adding to it and pulling them out to reference. This is our liquid tasting notes. It's a visual representation of our nerdery. So you really got to come down and see it because you won't believe it until you do see it. But in here, to your point, these are pretty relatively reliable and stable in that. They're not improving, and they're not really getting any worse either.
Almost like a controlled experiment.
Kind of, yeah. And that's exactly what every bottle that's up here has been tasted and notes taken on it and ad nauseum. But you can only write, I'd like to think of myself as, having a good vocabulary, but I can only write the same words over and over again until they really don't have meaning. And they're not capturing the nuance, right? This does have the same vanilla and spice and little Earl Grey tea notes, but I've written that for the past 4 months, but they're all a little different. And if I pulled out those different samples from those different times and you tasted them side by side, you would see, yeah, my God, they are. It's a little bit more homogeneous here. It's a little bit harmonious. Oh, that one's a little out of balance in this sample. It's wild to taste it through. And that's really what the library is for.
It's pretty neat. For those that were wishing that we had the video portion of this episode, just to see the bottles lined up on the shelves with fruit and roots and herbs and berries. It's just pretty impressive to think. And I feel like you should have a white coat on right now. Mad scientist going on. So
emphasis on the mad there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's take us through. So we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
So that's Big Jake, right? So that's kind of the basis. And so in April of 2013, we sold our first bottles. It was Big Jake and Rally Point, first two spirits we ever made. I wanted to make whiskey and rum. Started with whiskey. We had an unaged version and an aged version. So we just tried Big Jake. Now we go on to the next part of our education. This is Rally Point, which is our flagship spirit, our flagship whiskey. We do some variations on it throughout the year, occasionally, finishes, whatever. But this is our tried and true thing. And what it shows you is what happens to a spirit after barrel aging, right? So we put it in. This is a big batch for us. That means we blend in 2 barrels together, 53 gallons. And they're combined, they're an average of over 4 years old. So by law, a fun fact for newbies to the whiskey world, you can only put an age statement on a bottle of whiskey or spirits in the United States that is the oldest you can claim is whatever the youngest spirit is. So if you have a barrel of 10-year-old whiskey and you pour in a bottle of 2-year-old whiskey just to use it and bottle it up, that is now a 2-year-old whiskey. So It's interesting. But we're both of our barrels are over 4 years, 4 to 5 years. We blend them together. We're looking for consistency on Rally Point. And we're on batch, 90, 91, 89, something like that. And it's the first 60 batches were single barrels. As we're trying to get that nuance and trying to slowly roll our age back slowly by surely. But you'll notice a marked difference from what Big Jake just was to what this Rally Point now is. So I invite you to try Rally Point right now. You're going to notice it right off the nose to begin with.
Yeah, a little sweeter on my nose.
Agreed. Doesn't smell like the alcohol that we were in the Big Jake.
I'm getting some slight vanilla, a little bit of caramel oak in there.
Oak, yes.
I get a little piney note as well.
Okay.
I get some like in the background there. I get a little bit of some slight tea aspect that's kind of wafting if I'm searching for it.
Okay.
Yeah, much less of a burn on that.
A little more rounded, a little
oak.
more filled out,
Yeah.
right? The oak is it's
Yeah.
a part of it now, and it's been incorporated into the spirit itself, right? But that rye has got a little more of that pepper, a little more of that spice, a little white pepper in there, you know?
Yep.
It's not overpowering. It's not too sharp, I don't think.
No, huh?
But it's now present, whereas I don't remember that too much on the Big Jake, right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit of that larger distillate cut. It's that barrel transforming all these long chain fatty acids that are interacting with the wood.
I feel like it's a little drier as well
Yeah,
on the
I
end.
would agree. And I would tell you that's the tannic portion of the wood coming through. The Big Jake's a little bit juicier. Yep. Absolutely. And that's that kind of oakiness kind of drying it slightly, pulling it through.
Got a little sweetness to it. I'm getting that, yeah. That's good, though. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is what I have at home, and it's a good bottle, no doubt. I'm even drinking it neat. Like, you know, we are here, obviously, for the tasting, but even at home, I'm getting used to it. I'm getting better. The neatness, you know, it's not easy.
I'm telling you, what I do the most with this and have for the last 12 years is make Manhattans and Old Fashions.
Okay.
Classically, the recipes originally called for rye whiskey. I like that. I mean, I love a good bourbon, Manhattan or Old Fashioned too, but rye is there. It kind of stands up to a little bit of that sweetness of the Old Fashioned too, really nice. And this plays really well. So we make a lot of good drinks. Any whiskey cocktail at Rally Point's a good bottle for it.
Now, where do you guys source your rye from?
So we get some from a couple farmers that we have in Missouri, and we have a Goldsville mill in Illinois. But we also get rye from Breese, which is a big brewery distillery supply company out of Chilton, Wisconsin. Okay. Rye is a little bit more of a northerly crop. It grows better a little bit north of here. Same with barley. So we source a lot of that from Breese, who gets it from Dakotas, Bighorn Basin, Wyoming area, Montana. So kind of up there, the upper Midwest, upper United States. Our hierarchy for purchasing for ingredients is great quality. Number 2 is year-round consistent supply. Number 3 is then as close to home as we can get it. So we get corn from Missouri farmers. We do get some from time to time from over Illinois. We can't use that for Missouri bourbon. We'll talk about that in a minute. We get all of our sorghum, syrup for our sorghum, SS sorghum whiskey down at Sykeston, Missouri. We've gotten wheat from some local farmers out near Warrenton, stuff like that. We've got some barley from them too. We would like to source from up there. We get our molasses for our rum from Louisiana. You know, all of our barrels come from down right here in Missouri, the best American white oak in the whole world. Grows right here in our backyard in the Ozark region of Missouri. Mm-hmm. You can go to Scotland and they'll tell you that. The Missouri oak barrels are their pride and joy. And we're just fortunate to have them in our backyard, you know. Yeah. We use great local St. Louis city water, the best municipal water in the country, which is pretty wild, but thanks to AB, you know, for building the water infrastructure years ago. We benefit from that. And,
we're struggling with clean water in St. Charles, so we're actually getting the same water from St. Louis.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Pumping it over right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
it'd be easier to just filter the Missouri, right? It's right there.
You would think. Well, we're right next to both of them, so we get the best of both worlds. But anyway, so it's a wonderful taste to it. And you said 4-5 years age on it?
Yep.
That's great.
At least 4.
At least 4.
Is what we do,
yeah.
We usually put out a couple like single barrels throughout the year, and I said usually every year we do 1 or 2 like finishes on it. Our double barrel is a cast strength offering where we take a great single barrel out of our out of its original barrel after 5 years and finish aging it in new smaller barrels. We do one of our most popular is our Rally Point Maple Sunset. Comes out every October. It's our rye whiskey finished in an ex-bourbon, ex-maple syrup barrel. We're trying to make a rye whiskey with bourbon maple syrup notes, not a maple flavored whiskey. 2 very different ideas there.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's one of our most popular. It does go out into distribution. I would imagine A1's going to get some when it comes out in October. But Doesn't last very long typically.
No.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, Rye's
nice.
way more fun.
I'm a big rye guy, so that's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
All right, what do we got next, sir?
Next is Missouri Bourbon. So I started this with a big, long-winded thing about how bourbon's just a type of whiskey, right? As is rye whiskey, as is single malt, as is wheat whiskey. These are all types of the class of whiskey. Bourbon, as we said, mostly corn, new barrel, made in America, big parts of the legal bourbon requirements. Bourbon is a distinctive product of the United States. You can make it anywhere in the U.S., but only in the U.S. Much like tequila in Mexico, champagne in France, Scotch in Scotland, we've got bourbon, which I think is the coolest of all of them. But in 2019, I was the second president of the Missouri Craft Distillers Guild. And we passed a bill into law, bill number 266, which you see on the front of the bourbon bottle right here. And Governor Parsons signed it into law, creating and codifying Missouri bourbon as an actual class and type of whiskey. So you've got whiskey, you got a category of bourbon, and in there you've got Missouri bourbon, baby. Nobody outside of Missouri cares right now. It's up to us, Missouri distillers, to make it a statement of quality, and it's going to take some time, right? This doesn't happen overnight. To be Missouri bourbon, you must first meet all the bourbon rules, naturally. The whole process must take place in Missouri, of course. But all the corn you use must grow in Missouri, and the barrels must be manufactured in the state of Missouri. Makes it one of the most restrictive liquor laws in the whole world because of that barrel component, really. Again, we have to make good stuff to make other people care. Missouri likes it because it's, Missouri, cool. We're trying to do our part at Still 630 by releasing a new single barrel every month. So it's all the same mash bill. Our bourbon is 70 corn, 20 rye, 10% barley. It's all aged over 5 years. It's all bottled at 90 proof. I told you with the Rally Point, we're blending barrels to get consistency. Our motto for Missouri bourbon is to pick the best barrel that's most different than the last batch. We're trying to foster this conversation about Missouri bourbon. We want people to be excited about it, to talk to their friends about, oh, I get this. You know what? I'm picking up a little bit more of that. There's a little cherry note in there. And, oh, it's for me, it's a little corn forward. Oh, I love the finish on this one. And just talking about it as in, this is our humble offering as an entry into the world of bourbon and an opportunity for people to get in here and talk about what makes Missouri bourbon great. So this is single barrel number 40 that you have in here. 39 had a little bit more peanut character to it, a little bit more nuttiness in here. To me, obviously, it has a little bit of that. You're kind of splitting hairs on some of these single barrels. Half of the people that come in here are like, hey, man, they all taste great to me. I love it. Some of the other people are like, oh, I've got personal favorites. I love this batch, and I love the mid-palate on that one. And this one, I love the fruity notes that come through on this a little bit more. But coming off a Rally Point, which is a rye whiskey, a high rye whiskey, coming into this bourbon, which is a rye bourbon. I mean, it's more in the Woodford Reserve, Old Forester vein, as compared to the wheated bourbons, which are more your Makers, that kind of stuff, right? Larceny, I think those was. And when you talk about bourbon and you throw a grain on there, you're talking about the flavoring grain, which is the secondary grain. You already know it's got to be mostly corn. Mm-hmm. So the secondary grain is what kind of separates into the two camps, rye or wheated bourbon. We went into the rye bourbon because we like rye.
Definitely don't taste the pepper as much.
Right?
I mean, you're going from 90 to 20, right? So
big difference.
Should be a big difference.
Swapped it all out with corn.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot more? It's noticeably sweeter.
Yep.
It's got some of that corn meal kind of taste up front. To me, I get a lot more fruit off this one. I'm getting a lot more of those like cherry, dark stone fruit notes in there, especially on my mid palate.
Yeah, I think the sweetness I would lend itself to the fruit piece. I have a hard time still designating which fruits I am tasting.
Sure.
But I think, fruits are naturally sweet with all the sugar and everything. So, I mean, I definitely get that sweetness part of it. But I wouldn't be able to tell you which fruit I'm tasting. So it's good to know I'm tasting some cherry in it.
Yeah,
I got like cherry on the back end.
That's just good. Slightly older than the Rally Point, but I don't think that's... Yeah, this was 5 years and 1 month old, this batch. And they're, somewhere between 5 and 6 years old. And we write on the bottle how old this stuff is. Because we're trying to be transparent about everything. We love what we do, and we want to share it with everybody. We're not smart enough to have secrets, so we'll just tell you.
So the big difference between the Rally Point and the bourbon is just the grain? Is the barrel's the same?
Barrels are the exact same.
It's a couple months difference in age.
Yep.
But
it's the ingredients, the mash bill.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like we said a minute ago. We swapped 70% of that rye for corn. Kept it in there. We released a couple different bourbons originally. I think the original recipe was 6-30, 60% corn, 30% rye, 10% barley. Okay. And then we put out some different ones and settled on the 70-20-10, which we really love. We do a Monon Bell bourbon every year, which does go into distribution. It comes out every November. And that's our opportunity to try different mash bills and be weird and funky. It's named after the greatest college football game nobody's ever heard of. But I went to one of the schools, so I care, even though no one else does. But that comes out in November. But that's where we try a lot of different mash bills. But if I may, one of the things we love is bourbon. It's one of our favorite spirits in here. I love it. I've got, I don't know how many bottles at home. Really enjoy it. We also have an unrivaled experimental spirits program. We release a brand new spirit every month. It's free. Come on down. We give you a free sample. All we ask in return is a little bit of feedback. It's like 3 questions. Did you like it? Yeah. Should we make more of it? What do you want the future to taste like? And we theme up the program by quarter. So every quarter, every 3 months has an overall theme. And you've got 3 different versions of that theme, right? And we've done, I want to say, 4 or 5 quarters of bourbon in there that are, this one's got a little smoke. This one's got more wheat. This one's, high barley in there.
With the smaller samples, when you distill that, do you have like a smaller setup that you pump that out with?
So what I did is a long time ago, I distilled a whole bunch of different individual ingredients. So I distilled 100% corn and rye and barley and smoked barley and wheat and all this. And then we blended them in different ratios into different barrels, looking for different recipes. So in the back, we've got this whole rack that's all 15-gallon barrels. And that's all we use that for pretty much, is putting in different recipes. In the small barrel, you've got more surface area to volume. So you extract that oak faster. You get more oak, more age, more color on it quicker. And if you're only going to age something for 12, 18 months, you get a better quality spirit out of there. But oak extraction and oak flavoring is only one part of the aging process, right? You also need time for these chemical reactions, this oxidation, for these longer chain fatty acids to interact with the lignins and break down the tannins in the wood and recombine to form complex flavors. You need time to go from Big Jake to Rally Point. And the more time you have, the more complexity and deeper flavor you can build. In a small barrel, you're limited on time because you're extracting that oak so much faster. So if you want to go past 2 or 3 years, you really want to be in a big barrel because you'll over-extract, over-oak, and it won't be that good in a small barrel. But if you're doing an experimental program where you're just testing different recipes, a small barrel is ideal for it because we can turn something out between 18 and 30 months and say this is a very good representation of what this recipe could be. And if you like it now, then we have a positive expectation to making it altogether in a big batch, aging in a big barrel for longer. We're going to have an even better spirit. You loved it now, wait till we release it. So based on that, I'm telling you, we're still looking at other awesome recipes and looking for different stuff because at the end of the day, we're nerds at heart that are trying to remember we're running a business and need to be business-minded. But we're like, man, we can make this spirit and that and this. And it's so much fun.
Have any, out of that program, has anything made it out based on feedback into production?
Quite a few. So we have several different whiskeys laying down that are aging. They just aren't ready yet for bottling. We have released 1 or 2 as part of that Monon Bell series in there just to put out different mash bills. Our apple brandy was born straight from there. We have a spiced rum that we're working on. Our barrel-aged gin was straight from there. And our smoked mushroom agave spirit came out of there too, which was wild and weird.
Smoked mushroom agave.
If you've got too many people in your audience and you want to cut it in half, introduce tequila. It's still way too many people. So add smoke. You just lose another half of it. Yeah, it's still quite a bit. Okay, all right. Throw in mushrooms.
I'm out.
You've eliminated everybody, but you've got 8 people left. But they loved it, man. It was
highly
wild.
Targeted.
That's
yes.
awesome.
Oh, but it was wild, and it was from the feedback, and it was I mean, smoke is very polarizing. Tequila is very polarizing. Mushrooms are very polarizing.
Yeah.
So again, once you whittle it down, but it made some fantastic cocktails that we used. And we'll do some more tequilas and stuff in the future just because it's a cool category and we really like it. But it's not our bread and butter. It's not what we focus on. You know what I mean? It's just kind of us nerding out.
That's awesome. Well, so looking at all the bottles here, there's a couple other that I would love to be able to sit down and talk about. And maybe we'll just have to hit stop and just go ahead and just do that. But we are toward the end of our time here.
Yeah.
David, I greatly appreciate the time and effort you have sit here to educate us. I feel like I've learned a lot just about not only yours, but just tasting in general.
I apologize for dominating the conversation so much. I get talking, especially when I'm drinking.
We're drinking your whiskey, and we're drinking in your house. So I expected you to dominate the
So the polite thing to do would be let your guests get a word in edgewise.
No, I'm here to learn as much as hopefully the people that are listening are learning as well. So again, hopefully you have. Those listening have seen what we are tasting, and you've gone out to go and get some of that. A1 Wine and Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peter's would be the place to go.
Great store.
They've guaranteed they're going to have the cheapest price out there. So go check that out. Great whiskeys to taste. I mean, it's fantastic. I wish I could sit here a little longer and do that. So, again, Zach, thank you for your time and your questions and all that, and insightfulness and that. And, again, David, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for shining a little spotlight on our humble distillery, guys.
Yeah, learned a lot today, more than I could research on my own just here in 30 minutes. So appreciate it.
That's good to hear. So those that tried it, we would love to hear from you.
Yes.
There is a link to a form. You can also hashtag us on the social medias. Let us know what your thoughts are on Big Jake and the whiskey and the
Rally Point
the
and Missouri Bourbon.
Missouri Bourbon. So let us know what you think, and we'll pass it along. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers.
Wow. To say that was a ton of fun would be a huge understatement. Once again, big shout out to David Weglarz for not only providing us with the insights, but also being such a gracious host. I can only imagine, but not for long, how the Friday night experimental events must feel. I bet the atmosphere is amazing and worth checking out. I know that I will be soon. I also want to give Zach Metcalf, the creator and lead editor around the Happenings magazine, a shout out as well for joining us. Definitely glad we had someone there to taste, give their experience, and ask questions throughout this process. So thank you for coming down. You too could be a part of one of these tastings in the future for future episodes. I post these dates and times on our Facebook group, the St. Charles Bourbon Society. Respond if you can make it. Hope to see you at a future tasting episode. I was personally surprised at the taste of Big Jake. I have had other distilleries' White Dog in the past, and they were horrible. With Big Jake, though, that was not the case. I can't say that I will be drinking it neat anytime soon, but I could definitely see myself adding it to a cocktail or two. I have a bottle of the Rally Point and Missouri Bourbon. They are fantastic. After we stopped recording, we had the opportunity to sample their cask strength. It too was delicious, and now is sitting on my shelf. That particular bottle is only available at their distillery, so when you go to your tour or for an experimental Spirit Friday, I recommend picking up a bottle. Don't forget to head over to A1 Wine and Spirits on Mexico Road in St. Peter's to pick up one of these bottles from the show. Use the codes mentioned previously or grab them in the show notes to save additional dollars off your already low prices. Share your thoughts and questions on social media or within the form linked in the show notes. We would love to hear from you and be happy to share them in future episodes. Just be sure to tag St. Charles Bourbon Society and Sip Wiselee Podcast so we can catch those thoughts. The next episode will be released on June 1st and will highlight another Missouri distillery. Which one? You will have to keep an eye out on social media or wait until June to find out. Until then, no matter how you prefer your bourbon, make sure you sip wisely. thank you for tuning in to the Sip Wiselee Podcast. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button to get the latest episodes. Don't forget to visit our website at stcharlesbourbonsociety.com for the show notes. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please share them on social media. Follow us on all platforms by searching for St. Charles Bourbon Society. Our goal is to equip you with the knowledge to sip wisely. Cheers.